All right, hello everyone. Welcome to workshop number 2, the X Camera Basics of How-To tutorial. We are at Des Moines, which is what we're messing with Sam. All the SAM gates are in place now. We're going to utilize the default Boeing today. And we're going to go set up a bunch of X Camera stuff here. Now, installing X Camera is simple. Just drag and drop the plugin into the plugin folder in your resources folder in X-Plane. Be sure you register the copy with your key if you bought the payware version off the store. Now, I got my copy before this went to the store, so I got it. I've been supporting it since it was only like $5. You donate $5 to the guy, he gives you a key, boom, you have a full payware copy. So I need to send a message to Stick and Rudder Studios to see how I get future updates, since it's now a xplane.org store product. But you know, I still got my keys and everything. So right now we don't have it set up at all. I can't click any category buttons. I have no views. I have nothing. I'm just at the mercy of default X-Plane. And so the first thing you're going to want to do after you register the product is you need to come up here under plugins and go down to X Camera, and you need to enable it for this particular aircraft. And once you do that, it'll twist your head off apparently in the plane. Oh god, it's got me facing the wrong way. Hang on a second. I got to twist my head around here real quick. Ignore everything I'm doing right now. You see nothing. You know nothing. You don't know anything. All right, twist my head around there. There we go. Normally, when you're sitting in the cockpit and you click enable, this will be the view that it gives you. But since I was outside the plane, it broke my neck and killed me. So the very first thing you're going to want to do before you do anything else after this point is you need to go into your options, and you need to go to keyboard. You need to go and find, let's see, where is it at? SRS, Stick and Rudder Studios, X Camera. There's now a bunch of new keyboard shortcuts in here, and you're going to want to set up minimum. There's a lot of keyboard shortcuts that you can set up in here, but minimum you want to set up the following keys, and here's why. First off, you're going to want to set up selects the next camera in current category and selects the next view category. All right. So basically, S makes me cycle forward through all my views. Shift S makes me cycle through categories, right? So S to go through cameras, Shift S to go through categories, right? And we'll explain the difference between a camera and a category here in a moment. But you'll want to set up something there. Use whatever key you want. I used S because this is the default keystrokes that Chaseplane uses on P3D. And since I was so used to using Chaseplane, I mimicked Chaseplane's default keyboard shortcuts. So that's why that's set there. And you can see here we got, go through the next camera and go through the next category. So A makes me go previous. So I hit S to go forward through all my cameras, and Shift S to go through all my categories, and A to go backwards through my cameras, and Shift A to go backwards through my categories. So you'll want to set those up just so you can cycle through them real quick. Now a big thing that you're going to want to set up here is your category keys. This may end up overriding your keys that you have set up for X-Plane's default camera view, but if you have X Camera, you don't want default X-Plane's camera views anyway, so overwrite them with your own keystrokes here. For categories, I use the control and then the numbers on the number keypad here, control 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And basically I just, for every category, category 1, category 2, category 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on, I have assigned it a control and a numeric keypad number to coincide with that category number. Categories is groups, basically. It's a group of cameras that you can easily access. So for me, I usually have about 5 categories in any one aircraft at any time. Those categories will start with the cockpit. Category 2 is usually my external views. Number 3 is usually my cabin views. Number 4 is usually my orbit cameras, and number 5 is usually my pan cameras. If I have a walk around setup, as I do on the Zibo, I have a walk around configuration setup. That's my category number 6. So just a lot of versatility here and the ability to create pretty much 1,000 cameras. This thing has no real limits. I think it can do like 1,000 cameras if you wanted to make 1,000 cameras. So more power to you. Now coming down here, the next thing you're gonna want to set this up for sure. You're gonna want to set up your View ID hotkeys. For me, this is the equivalent of what you get in X-Plane's default camera system here. So, and I have my IDs associated with the number pad that's for the ID number. So ID number 1 is numeric keypad number 1, and so on and so forth down through here. 3 for 3, 4 for 4, 5 for 5, and then we have a few extras set up here. We use the period key for number 13. We use the divide, numeric division for number 11. Number 10 is the 0 key on the numeric keypad. And a very important camera that if you have the payware version, you're going to want to set this toggle up here. This is toggles between airport cameras and aircraft cameras. I have the asterisk, the multiply key on the numeric keypad is what I have set up to toggle between airport cameras and aircraft cameras. These are two completely different beasts. They work differently from each other. The setup is similar, but what you're trying to get out of the cameras is different. A lot of those really fancy product movies that you see when like a new airport comes out and the dude's doing pans and sweeps and stuff over the airport, they're using airport cameras that are set up all over the airport in fixed positions, and then they're assigning Belzer curves or linear curves or different types of curve maps to these different cameras, and then those cameras run in a sequence, and so you get this smooth pan around the airport because you can control not only the camera's movement around a curve or a straight line, but you can also control the zoom lens, zooming in and out in real time also. You can program all that information so you can get these really complicated camera movements that make it look like a motion picture. And then they add a lot of little special effects, especially if you got XP Realistic Pro. XP Realistic Pro is designed now to work with X-Camera, and X-Camera is designed to work with XP Realistic Pro. So I highly recommend both of these programs together. Will give you the best head bobbing and turbulent shaking effects that you can get in X-Plane currently. And that's pretty much all the hotkeys I have set up. That's all I got set up. There's a lot more that you could set up, but I don't see any need to utilize any of that crap. So if you want to, feel free to, but most of my cameras, I don't use any keys to move the camera around. I just use the mouse to move the camera around and do my thing. So once you get all your hotkeys set up here, you can actually come in here and start programming your aircraft and getting it ready to go. So as we showed earlier, you would come down here to X-Camera and you would enable the camera, and now you got all this stuff that's on here. Now there's a lot of stuff here. You can actually set your joystick also. That's a technique that the product review guys will use. They will set up like a gamepad that has the little thumb controllers, and they will use those to control the pitch and the rate of pitch and the rate of rotation, so they can get really smooth pans and camera motions that you would not be able to really get by programming a bunch of fixed cameras all over the airport. That's advanced stuff. We are not going over that today. Today we are just going to talk about dealing with the aircraft itself. Now once you have the plug-in turned on, the bottom 5 pixels of your screen, when you mouse over it, you'll get this menu that pops up on the bottom here. You can also access it from the plugins menu up here by going up here and clicking on settings. I'm just so used to coming down here. And as you set up cameras, these hotkeys will start to fill in here. Every time you name a new camera, it'll create a new camera hot button down here that you can use to click on if you want to do that. If you've been around long enough, you know I don't ever use any of these. I don't bother. That's why I have the hotkeys set up for S and A and Shift A and Shift S. But we're going to come down here and go to Control Panel, and this will give you the main Control Panel configuration screen. This is the part where I think a lot of people's eyes start to cross and they start to drool on themselves and regret ever having bought X-Camera. But it looks intimidating, but it's really not. It's very easy to use. at this point. Everything has been kind of clustered together where it needs to go in a intuitive way. At least I think it's intuitive. And don't forget, just starting at the top here, not the tippy top. This is if you want to copy your own camera sets and take it over to another airplane. I rarely do that because no two airplanes are alike, so I usually just start with a fresh one here. But if you don't want to make your own, you can always go over here and browse the community, and it'll take a look at your plane, and this will tell you how many cameras are currently available. So there's currently 154 Boeing 737-800 cameras that are currently available for all you guys. There's Bill right there. There's Bill Barrett right there. He's got his own. And these will tell you how many cameras are set up, how many categories are set up. So Mr. Wycliffe Barrett here has set up quite a few cameras and quite a few categories. This will tell you what version that it was done with. This is an older version, so some of these cameras may not function properly anymore. So be sure you're paying attention to the version. And he also tells you what his default field of view is. 94 degrees is way too damn big. That's like super, like crazy tunnel vision out to here. So 75 degrees for me is perfect. That's the way I want it to look. So basically, that default field of view, X camera will override whatever your X plane's default setting is. So I have my X plane default set at 75 degrees. All of my XCam cameras are set at 75 degrees too. But if I was to use this guy's 94 degree field of view, then as soon as I come into this particular aircraft, boom, I would have a 94 degree point of view, which is like crazy. So I'm thinking this may be for VR. This may be a VR type thing. Cancel. So let's talk about setting up some camera views here, shall we? By default, you get two. You get category 1, which is always the cockpit, and category 1 is usually the cockpit. Category 2 is usually the external cameras. If there isn't one, if you only have one of one, you can always add a new one. So you got these little arrows here that allow you to cycle back and forth between your categories here. These are just your buttons to add a new category, insert a new category, delete a new category, or you can move categories up and down in the list. So, you know, if you accidentally screw up, say you have a walk-around camera and you set it on category 6, but you want it on category 4, you would use the move up and move down to actually move the walk-around category down to category 4. So that's available there for you guys if you need to add, insert, delete, or move your categories around in the category list. Same thing with the camera. This is exactly the same thing as the category. You're just now setting up different camera views for this category. We're on category number 1, camera number 1. And same thing here. You can add, insert, delete, move cameras up and down in the sequence list here. This allows you to move around. You can also, this is an alternative way to moving around inside the cockpit. You can actually use the arrow keys on your keyboard to like slide around in the cockpit. If you hold down Shift and arrow key, you move rapidly. So that's how you rapidly move. If you change the movement increment level right here using these buttons, you can actually move even quicker. Now you're like whoosh, whoosh. Gets a little unwieldy at that point. So usually when you're doing cockpit stuff, you want to leave movement increments at medium because that gives you a fine control over moving around the cockpit. So left, right keys, the up arrow and down arrow moves you up and down in your seat. Left and right keys moves you right and left in the seats. By default, if you have a mouse that has a middle mouse button, if you hold that down, this will put you into freeform movement. You can actually hold down the middle mouse button and look around, and now you can just kind of, just move around. Whee! Now once you start a movement with your thing, moving the mouse, you'll stay locked in that movement trajectory. You have to let go of the middle mouse button and then move your view and then push the thing again to start sliding in the new direction. So keep that in mind. I want to center up here. I'm looking down at my penis because penis. Make sure it's there. It is not there. It hasn't been used in a long time, so it's probably fallen off at this point. That's right, kids. We just gave you an education here. All right, so what are we doing here? So, oh, you have some other features here too. If you have Track IR, this thing works with Track IR. Track IR is so 2000s. Everybody's on VR now, but X camera is capable of Track IR. I don't have Track IR. I've never liked Track IR, so I've never used it, but it's in there. You will need to consult the manual on how to utilize the features for Track IR. I will not be able to teach you that as I do not use it. There is a very comprehensive manual that is very well written and goes over every single one of these options in full detail. But for those of y'all who don't want to read, I'm here for you today. This is where you set your track IR limits and stuff. And there's one extra little thing here. You can put this in walk mode. When you turn on walk mode, all you do is tap a key once, and he will keep moving in that direction without you having to hold the key down. So this is how you can do, little walk around inspections of your aircraft if you want to. I don't ever use it because I just like using fixed cameras. Continuing down the left side here, manually enable X camera for this aircraft. Usually you don't have to do this. It should automatically enable. X camera, as far as I know, works with every single payware aircraft and every single freeware aircraft, but there may be a aircraft that I am not aware of that doesn't function properly with X camera, so you can actually force it here. Allow auto advanced. This is a advanced camera feature. This is how you set up, like, if you were to if you're doing like a product video, right? You're making like a product animation video, a sweeping panning view of this beautiful airport. What you would do is set up several fixed point cameras all over the airport, and then you would set each one of those cameras in turn to allow auto advance. So when X camera gets to the next camera, it will automatically go to the next camera and the next and next without stopping, without pausing at all. It'll just boom, it'll just go. So utilizing that, you could literally set up 52 cameras in a snake pattern all over the airport and then set it into auto advance, and then it would just snake its way through the airport for you until it gets to the last camera. Unless you have all of it set to allow auto advance, then it's going to cycle around to the last camera and then start doing it all over again. It is highly recommended that at least one camera in a advanced auto advanced sequence be turned off so that you have a definitive ending to that camera movement. It'll save you a lot of heartache later and prevent X camera from wigging out and going nuts and the camera is flipping and spinning all over the place. So you don't want that. You don't want that. So next we get into the meat and the potatoes of setting up a particular camera. Now, if you remember earlier when we were in the keyboard bindings, we set up a bunch of view IDs. This is important because now we're able to tell X camera which view ID we want to assign this particular camera to. Now on my keyboard, obviously I set up all my category keys to be corresponding to the number key that's on the keypad, right? So view ID number 1 is 1, 2 is 2, 3 is 3, 4 is 4. The way I look at my numeric keypad whenever I'm doing a cockpit is I look at it from the point of view of looking straight down at the aircraft, right? Where numeric keypad number 8 is the front, 2 is the back, 4 is the left side, and 6 is the right side, right? So just superimpose an airplane top-down view, and that's kind of how I envision this whenever I start setting up cameras. So that being said, camera number 4, right, our left seat pilot in charge seat is typically, I'm going to set it up as keystroke number 4, view ID number 4, just the way I do that. Now if you want, once you set up a view ID, you can also set up a transition time. It's important to do this on the very first camera because when you make a new camera, X camera will pull all of your settings from the previous camera into the new camera setting. This speeds up production of making camera views rapidly. So you want to set this data up the first time right off the bat. All right. So I usually use a transition time of 1 second. You can also do it by frames, but I'm not a computer. I don't calculate time in frames. I calculate it in a number of seconds. So 1 second I find is perfectly fine for cockpit transitions. When I do cabin views, I don't have any transition times. You may have noticed I immediately cut to a wing view, cut to the cabin view, cut. I can't stand it Other streamers don't bother to set that up. Some streamers don't even use X Camera, but some people just leave transitions on, and so when they go from the galley view to wing view, they actually punch through all the seats and punch through the walls, and it looks really bad. So for cabins, I don't use any transition time, but when I'm inside the actual cockpit, I always put a 1-second transition time. Going down all the options real quick here on the left, enable track IR. If you have a track IR system, this is where you enable it. If you want to enable limits so that you can't overturn or overexert your head, that's where you would turn that on. If you have the old head shake plug-in, this is where you would turn that on. But I recommend going out, grabbing XP Realistic Pro if you don't already have it. And I'm going to turn that on. So you can kind of see right now, just by looking, there's this ever slight movement right now in the cockpit. If you pay attention real close, you can see that my view is just barely kind of moving a little bit. That's because XP Realistic Pro combined with X Camera simulates you breathing. So we're actually taking in breaths, and of course when you breathe, your head moves a little bit. If you don't have that turned on, your cockpit will be perfectly still, and I can't stand a perfectly still cockpit. It looks like a video game, and I don't like video game. I like simulator, so I always turn on XP Realistic Pro when I'm doing this. Retain mouse look position. I almost always turn this on. Basically, if you don't turn this on, by default it's off. When you move the mouse and let go, your view will snap right back to the way you were looking. I don't like that. You can also do temporary positioning. This is where you move it over here, and when you let go of the mouse, it'll pan your head back. Or not. Hello? You're supposed to pan the view back? No? No? You don't want to do that? Okay. Well, it's supposed to do that. Fail. Fail. Let's try this. Save it. Sometimes some of these don't work if you have the menu open. Well, I'll be damned. Why aren't you working? Quick, you're making me look like a jackass, man. Anyway, that's what that's supposed to do. If you turn on retain mouse look position, which I always do, you can move the mouse. When you let go of it, you'll remain staring in that direction. And if you move to another camera view and come back to the view, you'll still be in that view if you don't reset it yourself. You can also do all three at once. I think you have to do all three at once. And nope, it lied to me. Huh. Is this not functioning right now? Whatever. Whatever. You're not going to use that very often anyway. Enable view axis input. If you have a game controller or a secondary joystick, this is where you would enable axis input, where you can actually move the joystick, and moving the joystick will actually turn your head. If your joystick also has thumb hats and switches and stuff like that on there, I think that will help you move that also. It's not a function I've ever really used. Once again, consult the manual to get the full skinny on that particular stuff right there. Enable camera axis input. I have no idea what that feature is. I've never used it. I've never needed to use it in everything that I do. Now, I do use the transitions here. I usually do smooth transitioning in cockpits, and I usually do linear or Bezier curves when I'm doing airport cameras. If I'm doing like a product review or a motion picture style video, that's how we do that there. But I almost always leave smooth transitions on, because when you turn on smooth transitions, this is where it starts looking at your transition speed in seconds or in frames per second, whichever you want to do. And if this is on, if the next camera has it turned on also, then when I push a hotkey to go over to that next camera view, it's going to smoothly slide its way over there and do all that. Enable auto advance to next camera. This is almost the same as this. Typically you won't use this right here. You won't use this one. You'll want to use this one here. They're similar, but they do two different things. And I cannot remember off the top of my head what this one really does, but I always use this one when I'm doing like airport camera sweeps and pans and stuff. Want that off right now. Smooth camera joins. If you don't turn this on, what basically happens is as a transition's happening and it starts to get towards the end of the transition, it will actually slow down the speed of the transition. You can kind of see this in external views whenever I'm doing like pan shots in external views. You'll see it actually start to slow down, and then if there's more cameras with auto advance, then it'll like pick back up speed and go to the next camera. If you turn on smooth camera joins, it won't slow down. It'll just go right from one camera to the next, and that's how you get those big, smooth, sweeping camera pans and pullbacks and dolly ins and all that other fancy camera jargon type stuff here. Hidden camera probably hides the camera. I've never used that feature, so I cannot tell you exactly what it does, but it looks self-explanatory to me. It probably hides the camera. Why you would want to hide a camera, I don't know, so you're going to want to look in the manual on that one. Everything here on the right side is pretty much designed for external camera views. The only one that I've ever used while inside a interior space is Cinema Verti, which adds even more camera shake to you. Now, I don't typically use it inside the cockpit, but I will use it when I'm setting up cabin views because this simulates more violent shaking. And if you've ever taken out your cell phone camera and slapped it against, you know, the window of your plane in real life and filmed the takeoff and landing, you'll notice that you have a really hard time holding that camera still while the plane is taking off or while it's landing. Cinema Verti, Verte, or however the hell you pronounce it, will simulate that additional camera shake. But in the cockpit, you don't really want it on because it makes it harder to click on buttons and switches and knobs and stuff. So typically, you want to leave that particular one off. There it is. See, Act 2's coming in to help us out. Thank you, Act 2. Free camera is just that. It sets up a free camera, the same as if you hit Shift 4 and press the letter C in default X-Plane that allows you to go anywhere you want. Free camera will allow you to go anywhere you want there. Target following camera. If you want the camera to lock onto a specific target, such as yourself, it will do that. The Synflex camera. Synflex camera tries to simulate the special camera that is attached to the bottom of helicopters. These are typically attached to helicopters during cinematic scenery sweeps. Just go watch any of the Lord of the Rings movies whenever there's those wide scenery shots of the mountains and the dwarves and the hobbits are walking in the distance and it's giving you this beautiful pan of all the mountains and everything. That is a Synflex camera. It basically will constantly keep the camera leveled and centered, no pitch, no twist, anything. The aircraft will twist around the camera, but the camera will not twist around the aircraft. Oh no, I'm out of water. So parched, so thirsty. Scenic Flyer, general aviation panel, and glass. This will turn on panels. So if you are in an exterior view, but you still want to be able to see some of your cockpit instrumentation, you can turn it on there. External camera is just that. It tells X-Plane that the next camera that you're currently working on is a camera that goes outside the aircraft itself. Enable track camera heading, enable track camera pitch. This locks the camera into that axis, which is particularly good whenever you want to set up a camera that's showing airplanes landing on a runway. This will allow it to track with the aircraft smoothly and pan with it. So basically, this levels the camera. This gives you heading control, and this gives you pitch control, basically. So makes lots of sense, right? Let's make a camera, shall we? So to make cameras, all you got to do, stay in the category. We're going to finish making cockpit cameras. We're going to do the entire cockpit how I typically do it for any airplane that I purchase or download. We're just going to come here. We're going to add another one. Remember, you want to autofill all your functions that you want on the next camera. Be sure that you fill them in. Because when you add a camera...
Added camera 2 to category cockpit.
As you can see, it brings over all your previous selections, minus the view ID, because it knows you don't want to copy the view ID. Now, I want to set up the first officer's view next. I know that's going to be the right cockpit. Remember, we're envisioning a top-down view of our cockpit view, right? So number 6 is going to be my first officer. You can come up here, and you can relabel any camera. And then, once that's done, hold down your mouse button and just start pushing arrow keys here. I'm going to slide over directly until I'm nice and aligned with this. I'll take a look like that. I'll set that camera right there, and then I'm going to save it. I have the tendency to click Save All after I put down a camera every time. It just makes life a little easier. So already, if you want to test that out, click outside the menu, somewhere inside the aircraft, and now I can toggle between my A and my S. And now I'm sliding back and forth. You can see my first officers are a little bit shorter than I am. But if you don't like that, you can correct that by coming back in, and we're going to go up a little bit. We're going to save it again, and then now we pan, and now we're pretty much eye to eye all the way across. So then we're going to do another
Added
one.
camera 3 to category cockpit.
And it's up to you. You can set them up however you want to. We're going to do, we'll make this the overhead panel. For me, that's view ID number 8 because I want to pitch my head up to look. So we're going to come over here, holding down Shift. Remember, Shift allows you to move rapidly. If you want to move backwards and forwards in the cockpit, by default, that's the comma key and the period key. Comma key goes backwards, period key goes forwards. So I'm going to kind of move back here, then I'm going to push the down arrow key until I get like all the overhead panel in place. I'm going to save that, and now I have 3 cameras, and now I can cycle between those. There's key press 4, key press 6, and key press number 8. Let's add another camera.
Added camera 4 to category cockpit.
We will call this one mode control panel. For me, I have number 9 is set up for mode control panel, just because usually, right, I'm going to look at the mode control panel from the pilot in charge seat. Coming in here, zooming in, using the, once again, period and comma key to get in close and personal. I'm going to save that again, because normally I'm sitting here in this view, so number 9 is, you know, up and to the right, and since my head movement is up and to the right, I use number 9 for the mode control panel because I'm naturally moving that way. Let's see here.
Added camera 5 to category cockpit.
Camera number 5, that's going to be view ID number 5. I usually do the FMC on whatever aircraft I am doing. So we'll come down here, and then we'll move the camera over. Right there. I'll save that. So once again, we can test that out real quick. So there we go. That looks beautiful.
Added camera 6 to category cockpit.
My category 6 is usually PFD displays, and that is usually number 7. I'm going to set that up down here. Save. So now, number 7. Zoop, 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 zoop. Number 2, I'm going to set up my my view ID number 2 here.
Added camera 7 to category cockpit.
This will be the radio stack for me. ID number 2. Again, we pitch the camera down, we move over, and we'll just center that up right there. Maybe bring it down a little bit, get a little closer here with the period key. There we go. We'll save all that. And so now we have our radio stack view. So that's 7, 8, 9 on my numeric keyboard, 4, 5, 6, 2. Now if you don't have a category set up, if you don't have a camera set up for a certain hotkey, it'll tell you. So if I push 1 right now, I'm going to delete you. I'm going to delete this category. There we go. Let's try that again. So now if I push 1.
Unable to find view ID 1. Unable to find view ID 3.
So whatever keys that you associated in your keyboard shortcut, if you push it, but you don't have a camera, it'll tell you what the ID is.
Unable to find view ID 10.
So I know that I have key press number 1, 3, and 0 are still available to me right now because I preset those in the key bindings as those particular view ID numbers. So I'm going to make
Added
another
camera
one.
8 to category cockpit.
We're going to call this the pilot left view. We're going to set that as number 1, and I'm going to come forward and then turn my head to the left and then go forward some more, and I'm going to save that right there until I can see the wing in the back over there. So now we got that set up where we can just quickly tap a key and basically we simulate our pilot looking back over his shoulder. And we're going to do the same for our first officer. We'll go over to the first officer seat.
Added camera 9 to category cockpit.
First officer right view. We're going to set that as view ID number 3. And we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to come forward, then I'm going to turn my head, and then I'm going to move forward again, looking back, and there we go. Save. So now we got the first officer view. We got this view. I typically use view ID, the 0 key.
Unable to find view ID 10.
When I do it,
Added camera 10 to category cockpit.
I usually do a webcam. I do a webcam, and I'll set that as view ID number 10. And we'll go back through our seat, and we'll go up into the corner, just like we're setting up a GoPro camera to look at the whole cockpit here. Save. So whoop, zoop, zoop. You can do whatever you want to with it.
Unable to find view ID 11.
I have my view ID 11 set up as the divide key, and what I typically use
Added camera 11 to category cockpit.
view ID 11 for, and let me say this before you start getting confused. View IDs and camera numbers are independent of each other. You can have view ID 57 set up on camera 11. It doesn't matter. So don't get confused by that. And we're going to do nose view. And we're going to set this up as view ID number 11. And I'm going to come forward rapidly. I'm going to set myself up right there, and I'm going to save that. So now, boom. Now I can come to the nose view if I want to real quick. So I have basically, if I wasn't teaching you guys, I basically just set up an entire cockpit in less than 60 seconds. And we're ready to go. I got all my hotkeys set. I'm happy to go. Now we got additional views here.
Category 2 does not exist.
So I tried to switch to a category, and it told me that category doesn't exist. And remember, I set up category hotkeys with control 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth. So my category 2
Added camera 1 to category 2.
is usually externals. And we're starting with a fresh batch of cameras, and these are all going to be external cameras. So the first thing you need to do is click on external camera. This will drop you out of the aircraft, and you can actually start moving around outside the aircraft like this. And just save that, and now we have our very first ever ID. Now, you cannot use the same view IDs in another category. If I was to hit a view ID button right now, what would happen is I would go from this external camera view right directly to the camera that is assigned to that view. So if I push the 4 key, which is my pilot in charge view, I'll immediately go back into the cockpit and go back to category 1. You can see it up there changing. Hey, Chili Willy, what's going on, man? Welcome, everybody. We are doing X-Camera tutorial here for those people who are intimidated by its interface and have not set up their X-Camera to work. So, getting back to it, if you want to use additional view IDs, you can set up more view ID hotkeys. I don't really bother in external mode, personally. Nor do I usually do transitions outside, unless I'm doing a fancy camera, right? I usually don't bother with transitions. I do leave XP Realistic turned on. I do retain mouse look. That way I can actually move my head around if I want to. Smooth transitions, not required because I don't have a transition speed, so we can turn that off right now. So I'm going to save that right there like that. I am doing well. I hope you're doing well too, Chili Willy. Hope you're doing well. Countdown, sir. We are fast approaching FS Expo. Can't wait to meet you and Brad and all the rest of the funky bunch. It'll be good times. So, getting back to our tutorial here. Camera number 1 will be, we'll call that left front nose, right? And we'll do a couple of fancy things on the exterior cameras here. Now, let's say I want to do a, let's add another camera.
Added camera 2 to category external.
We'll call this wingtip left, right? And then here you may want to change your movement increments to very large. That way the camera moves much faster and you can get the camera over where you need it to go much rapider. Once you get close, you can go ahead and turn it back down so you can get some more fine control over the camera's positioning here. So I'm basically going to set up a camera on top of the winglet. And we're going to do this view right here. And if you want to simulate the camera being loose, you can turn on, enable Cinema Verte. Oh, wait. No, wait. Forget what I just said. I forgot. Cinema Verte does not work in exterior mode. Turn that off. Now, here's where Cineflex gets me a lot. The Cineflex camera gets me a lot because if you click on this, it completely changes the view, right? And it's going to stay fixed like that permanently. And you can cycle it back off and on. I really haven't played with the Cineflex camera a lot. I don't need it for a whole lot. Cineflex is probably a really good camera to turn on if you want to record yourself doing a flyby pass over an airport and you want to use a helicopter to help film that footage. If you're doing, a motion picture or a product review type video, you'll want to attach the Cineflex external camera to the bottom of your helicopter and then just start flying because the Cineflex camera will always remain stable no matter if you're banking or turning. UNCA Jesse, thank you for the follow. So, all right, so we got this camera. So let's set up a transition camera real quick, right? All right, so let's say we want to do a really slow panning shot to the tail, right? So we're going to set up 2 additional cameras here, right? We're going to set up 2
Added
additional
camera
cameras.
3 to category external.
We're going to call this left swing cam 1, and you guys can set these up however you want. So we're going to move this camera over here. We're going to raise it up and we're going to point it towards the aircraft like this. All right? And I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to create another camera.
Added camera 4 to category external.
We're going to call this tail cam. And we're going to move up to the top of the tail cam. All right? We're going to move to the tippy top. Again, looking straight down at the aircraft. And I'm going to save all that. I'm going to go back through these cameras here real quick because remember, you can cycle through any camera that you made. So starting with camera 2, we want normal. Camera 3, we want a transition, but we want a 30-second transition on that. We want to do a Bezier curve. We want to do auto advance to the next camera, and we want to do a smooth join to the next camera. And then we're going to move up to the next camera, camera number 4. Again, I'm going to do a 30-second transition here, but I'm going to go ahead and leave all this other stuff off. I don't want it to transition to the next camera. So now, we save all that. I'm going to cycle through here. We're going to go here. Now, if I didn't screw this up, when I press S again to cycle to the next category, it's going to do a smooth 60-second camera pan that's going to go kind of up in a curved angle and sit up on top of the tail. I think I did it right. I'm not sure. No, it did not. No! Wrong type. Fail. Did I screw this up? Hang on. I may have screwed this up. Oh, yes. Smooth transition. Sorry. I need a smooth transition. And then the next camera also needs to have a smooth transition. But we don't need to auto advance. 30-second smooth transition. Okay, let's try this again. All right. There we go. We got it the second time. So this is how you do your... So if we were in the air right now, this would be all cinematic, and there'd be orchestra music blasting, and everybody be going, "Holy crap, your simulator looks amazeballs!" And you just get these really nice, realistic camera views. Slowly but surely, it just starts to move, and it should transition to the next camera. But it paused. It shouldn't have paused. I probably did a user error because I don't do these type of camera sweeps very often. I understand the concept of them. I don't really have the need to use them very often. But this is kind of a basics of how you do these little sweepy moves here. And this will kind of slowly rotate us up to the top of the camera. And you can do this with airplane cameras, and you can do it with airport cameras. So as I said earlier in the tutorial, this is how the product guys get those product, promo videos. They set up cameras all over the airport with all these different transitions and different types of curves, and they set up different times, and they can actually adjust it to zoom in and zoom out also at certain speeds and stuff. So it's quite interesting. To do all that. No, I'm not going to take a break, dude. I'm in the middle of a tutorial. So anyway, those are some external cameras, what you can do with it. Let me show you. We'll set up a cabin view real quick, and hopefully that should give you guys enough ground to start with. And then
camera one
and then
to
we can look at your
category
stuff.
3.
Category 3, we're going to call this cabin. And technically the cabin is not it's an interior cabin set, so be sure that Synflex is not auto-selected, and be sure that external is not selected either. I'm going to turn off smooth transitions. They're not required. I'm going to clear out the transitions in seconds. You don't really need to clear out the transitions second times or frames if you turn off smooth transition. I just do it to keep my views looking nice and clean. So, turn. We're going to bust through the wall here like the Kool-Aid Man. I'm actually going to set this to large increments so we can fly through quickly. Then we're going to set up our first camera here. Let's set up this sexy engine view here. Again, change your increment level to fine-tune your view. And we're going to set this up. I always turn on cinema for this. That way it simulates somebody trying to hold a camera in their hand while they're filming. And we will call this right wing engine. Save. Then we'll create another camera.
Added camera 2 to category cabin.
And we'll call this right wing flaps. Now, when, I don't know why X Camera does this, when you are doing these cabin type cameras, whenever you enable Cinema Verti and you add a new camera, it automatically switches this off and turns on Synflex. I don't know why it does that, but I always turn Synflex right back off, turn Cinema back on, and then we will grab this camera. We will set the increment level to large, and we will move down until I find a suitable window where I can look at the flaps moving on this particular bad beast. Let's go right about, ooh, this looks like a good place right here. Let's come up closer. And again, we'll do some fine tuning, and we'll set that, and we'll save that right there. And so there we go. We now have our two camera views, and again, I use S and A to cycle through the cameras. So that's how you see me do all that. So, you're not mapping. You're not. Yes, you can map. You can map the category and view IDs and all of your hotkeys to joystick buttons. All right. So if you wanted to, you can come in here and you can go to joystick, and let me find something that's not got something on it here. Nope, those are stall warning tests. What about you? Pitch down trim. Nope, can't use you. Damn, all my buttons are used. Hat switches. Nope, I don't want to mess with those because those are views. Give me something that's free here. Let me see. Do nothing. There we go. Button 20 is free. So I can come down here and I can go edit. And you have to find the SRS cameras. They're in here somewhere. SRS cameras. Can I minimize here? Yeah, there they are. So here you go. Select camera with view ID number 1. So let's select this, right? We'll apply that. Done. So now I can come over here and hit this button, and boom, we're inside the cockpit. Although that's not the right view. There we go. So yeah, you can set up any. And now I have a category 3 set up. And the cool thing about X Camera is it remembers the last camera that you were on. So if you, for me, number 3 is, control 3 is cabin view. So it goes right back to the wing view that I had previously. And of course I can cycle through it. And I can make 500 of these if I wanted to. But for our demonstrations, I just made the 2 here. So one wing, then you can go do it on the other side. And again, I prefer not to use transitions with cabin views. I want to instantly go there because I'm a different passenger. I don't want to look like I just fell out of my seat and flew backwards into the back of the aircraft. So, but yeah, so you have full control over how you want to set up your keys. You can either use keyboard bindings or you can use joystick bindings. If you have a HOTAS that has like 4 million buttons on it, by all means, go ahead. Use that to cycle through your cameras if you want to. Hello, fellow pilot. Hello, hello, hello. Scotty Bob, that's kind of an advanced topic. That's an airport camera, and we'll go into that. We'll go into some airport cameras here, but let's set up a category number 4 here. We're going to do Orbit Cam. This is real easy to set up. You don't even have to make a new category for this. Right down here in the lower right-hand corner, you have 2 buttons that says Create Orbit and Create Flyby Cameras. If you click here, you'll get this pop-up, and it'll automatically assign this, and you can have as many orbit cams as you want. Each time you make an orbit camera, it will make a new category for that orbit camera. This allows you to set up the starting camera angle. Let's do 28 meters. I don't want the height to dip more than 3 meters and no more than 15 meters. And let's do 120 seconds. And I want to do continuous, and we'll reverse the rotation. When you do that, it automatically created a category 4 right here. And so now I can go Control 4, and immediately I now have this wonderful slow-moving orbit cam that's going to go from 3 meters up to 15 meters and then back down to 3 meters again as it slowly rotates over the next 2 minutes around this aircraft. So it's really that easy to do orbit cameras in here, and you can either have it go clockwise or counterclockwise. You can have it orbit once, or you can have it continuously orbiting around itself like the moon going around the planet. So it's pretty much that simple. The same thing for the flyby camera. Flyby camera will automatically set up its own category, so it's going to create a category 5 here when we click on flyby. And here you can set this up, whatever. We'll do 35 degrees as our starting angle of attack. Our initial height in meters will be we'll come in high. We'll be 100 meters above the plane. We'll start 1,000 meters away. And let's see here. We're going to end up right there. I want this to be a nice, slow approach to the airport. I used to do this a lot on my YouTube channels. I used to do openers using the flyby camera here. So we do that, save those cameras, shut it down, and now when I do Control 5, we get this camera where we start coming in over the airport here. Nice and slow. And of course, you can do a if you want to like orbit around the whole airport, you could totally set the orbit camera to be like 2,000 meters away, 2 kilometers away, and then have it slowly rotate over a 5-minute period, and it will lock onto your plane. But from that extreme distance, it'll look like you're just rotating around the airport and stuff. So you can do those big sweeping shots rapidly. That's how you get rapid cinematic type cameras. But obviously, you don't have a lot of fine control over it. You have some parameters that you put in, and then you're at the mercy of the Belzer curves that they do here. So the last type of camera I want to show you guys is the airport camera. You can only have access to the airport camera. I don't know if they have a free version of X Camera anymore. I think they got rid of the free version altogether. But before, the free version would not allow you to have airport cameras. You had to register a copy by donating $5. Now the program's like $20. So you guys snooze, you lose. Now you got to pay a little bit more to get this wonderful application. But once you have that, you now have access to airport cameras. And X Camera will automatically try to locate the nearest airport to your aircraft. This is not necessarily the airport you're sitting at all the time. So be very careful and make sure that this actually says the airport that you want it to. If it doesn't, you're going to get a funky-ass airport that you were not intending. So when you click the airport camera view, it immediately drops you down into an external view outside the aircraft and puts you in free roaming mode. So basically, we can now move, and you need to change your increment levels here so you can actually get some movement speed. So now you're free to go anywhere you want, all over the airport, any altitude, using the arrow keys and your mouse keys and stuff. You will need to turn on retain look position, or else it'll continue to reset the camera and drive you absolutely insane. So let's do the thing that Scotty Bob said. So the tower for this particular airport is over there. So I'm going to set this to very large. That way I can move rapidly. I'm going to hold down Shift, and this will allow me to zoom across the airport rapidly. Whoosh. And we're just going to set up a camera on top here. And anybody who has ever stayed up late because you were bored and watched Captain K-Man testing out a World Traffic 3 payware airport that I'm working on because I was commissioned to do it, you will know that I set up what I call the tower rotation camera. And to do that, we are going to turn on smooth transitions, and we'll set up we'll do 15-second turns. That way it'll be a full minute to rotate around. We're going to leave free camera on. We're going to leave external mode on. We're going to do smooth transitions, and we're going to maintain the look position. I'm going to save that camera. Then I'm going to make a second camera.
Added camera 2 to category airport.
And I'm going to rotate this way. You are supposed to be maintaining my look position, sir. Why are you not maintaining my look position? Hold up. Oh crap. For what we're trying to do, hang on. For what we're trying to do, you can't use a free camera. Come back to the airport. Boop. There we go. All right. No free camera for this type of camera that we're doing here. So where's that tower at again? Okay, tower's over there. Let's go to very large so we can get over there quickly. This here tells you your pitch angle and all that stuff like that. And you are able to change the zoom level if you need to. Alright, so we're going to set up right here on top of this lovely little tower. Get a little bit more altitude. We'll look this way, stop the camera, and save it. Next up, we're going to go to this next camera. We're going to advance, but I'm going to delete this camera. Whoosh. It's currently transitioning because we have a transition speed set, so give me a second here. I made that last camera in error. Alright, so we can add.
Added camera 2 to category airport.
Damn it, stop turning the fucking camera. You're supposed to maintain my damn look position. Oh, you son of a bitch. Thank you. Sorry. It's irritating. With the airport camera, you have to turn on enable temporary positioning or else it will reset its view. When you are not in airport view, it works exact opposite. You don't want it turned on because it will it'll save that view temporarily, but then it'll snap your head back. That may be a bug. That may be a bug right there. All right, so we got this, right? We're going to transition that. And then we're going to go to the next camera.
Added camera 3 to category airport.
Oh, why are you doing this to me? It's forgetting. Why is it forgetting? It keeps forgetting.
Added camera 4 to category airport.
Yep, I have to cycle this or else it forgets where I'm looking. All right, save. Okay, so what we can do now is we're going to do advance to the next camera, and we're going to do smooth, and then we're going to go backwards, and then we're going to do auto. We're going to save again, and then we're going to go backwards again, and then we're going to do this and save, and then we're going to go back to the last camera, and we're going to do this and this. And we're going to save. And now, sit back, relax, and enjoy. So now you have a camera that will sit up here and it will rotate. And it will give a little tiny pause when it reaches the next camera view. And then it will go to the next camera view. And so this is typically what I will do when I'm working on World Traffic 3. I'll put a camera out here, an airport camera like this, so that I can watch the whole airport while I'm doing stuff. Because typically I don't want to touch the controls. I usually have like a notepad in my hand or something, and I'm making notes about bad behavior that World Traffic 3 planes are doing. And so that's pretty much how you set that up. There's a lot of stuff you can do here. We didn't even touch on Bezier curves and other types of cameras. Most of y'all will never have any need to set this stuff up. At most, you might set up an airport camera so you can watch yourself coming in from a plane spotter point of view, and it will automatically pan with the plane, and you can actually have it zoom in if you want and stuff like that. Again, those are features that you can find in the manual. The manual's pretty easy to follow, at least it was for me. You don't have to have a PhD in order to understand it. It's written in plain English. So most of you should get it off the bat. So then I have that asterisk key set up to toggle between these cameras, so I can go between aircraft and tower camera. And because these tower cameras are set on auto, I don't have to push any buttons. It'll just automatically start rotating around the axis that I set up. There you go, guys. I mean, that's really all there is to it. It's, you know, if I wasn't teaching you guys, I could have had all these things basically set up in under 10 minutes. This whole aircraft would have been ready to go. And that's all there is to it, really. I hope this helped you guys out a little bit, at least to let you get the basics going for your aircraft. Maybe you won't be so intimidated by the interface. Again, before we close out here, you can see now I have all those buttons are now down here. These are the categories. Row number 2 is the categories here, so I can literally click on these, and it'll do the same as my hotkeys. And then you can also come in here and be like, first officer, camera number 5, stack, first officer's view, pilot view. So, yeah, I use A and S to cycle through cameras. So this is me pushing the S key. This is me pushing the A key. Then I also have Shift S, which goes through the categories. It allows me to go through the categories rapidly. Boop. Boop, 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 boop. Boop. That's it. So, X-Plane has its own camera system, but it's not nearly as powerful as X-Camera. It can't do half the stuff that X-Camera is capable of doing. And not only that, but the view system does not work with the XP Realistic Pro. It doesn't get any feedback from XP Realistic Pro, and vice versa. X-Camera does. So if you hit the ground too hard at 600 feet per minute, if you have X-Camera turned on and you have XP Realistic switched on in your options for that particular camera, you'll feel it. Because it'll boom. It'll be like, oh, crap. You almost feel like your headset's flying off your head. So that's it, guys. I hope you found this informative. I am going to crawl into the bed now and die a happy dreaming death, I hope. And we will be back tomorrow for some more Boom and Zoom time. I will be picking up the new Aerosoft Berlin airport. Maybe we'll depart from that airport tomorrow. I'll have to add it into the Solaris Euro network. So that should be good to go. I'm not going to put anything crazy on a tutorial video, though, dude. I ain't doing it. Ain't doing it. Ain't doing it. So we are done with this tutorial. I am not closing it out with some crazy links, sir. Not on a tutorial video. I will click on it, though, after I shut this down and laugh. You just want me to share it with everybody. Everybody else can click on it already and look at it if they want to look at it. Anyway, guys, hope that helped you out, and we will see you guys tomorrow. And hopefully we'll have a smooth ride, because all of our European scenery is now on the external 10 terabyte drive now, too. So hopefully we'll get the same results that we had in the US in Europe. We'll find out tomorrow. And until then, sayonara.